What's up, guys? It's Eventon here, and I kind of feel like an idiot because I literally just recorded this twice without my microphone on. So now I have it on, and who would have thought me doing 2 videos in one day? The other one was actually about the Pochven, some old videos I dug up, and I wanted to post it, but I completely forgot about the Hunt event was released today. So I wanted to make sure I put out a video and educate you guys on what you can expect for the event and what you can do. So obviously it's about the greased pirates. You can see the skull and like the bunny ears there, something I am very familiar with. I'm going to go through this kind of quickly just because I'm going to put the article down in the description. You guys can read it at your own pace. But essentially, there's only a couple main things you really need to focus on. There's going to be combat sites and exploration sites. There's going to be 2 types of combat sites. I would argue the easier ones spawn in low, high, and nullsec. Those are designed for T1, T2, and like faction ships for both frigates and destroyers. So there's no ships bigger than a cruiser, or I should say no ships bigger than a destroyer, are allowed in these sites. And you can't run T3 ships, so no jackdaws, none of that kind of stuff. And it is important, and I ran it with a buddy, as you'll see here in a little bit. But running solo, it's probably good to obviously have high kinetic and high thermal resistance for this event, as well as some sort of way to rep yourself, whether it's for shield or armor. Just make sure you have a way to heal yourself as you're doing it. And also maybe run a Nosferatu or some sort of way to nullify neuting, because you will get neuted from a lot of small ships. So make sure you have that available as well. The second type of combat site is specifically in Caldari low-sec regions and the Garista region of Venal, kind of like their home region. And I believe those are named a bit differently, like those sites, because the sites actually are going to be in your overview, so you're able to warp to them directly. You don't need to scan them or anything like that. It says there's 2 rooms. The first room can be accessed by all players, but the second room can only be found by these key cards that you can only get from scanning down capsules. So to be honest, there's really no point in running these combat sites unless you're going to have a couple of these key cards, which I'll show you here in a little bit, and how you can actually find these mystery capsules that are all over New Eden, and they're always next to a celestial. So either a station, a moon, a planet, a belt, anything like that. They're not going to be randomly in the middle of space where you need a combat probe scanner or anything like that. Exploration sites, I couldn't find an exploration site. I did about 18 to 20 jumps of highsec, couldn't really find any. And I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's no different. You scan it down, you find the site, you use, I'm assuming, the data analyzer. I'm not sure if it kind of gives you, I don't think it tells you whether it's the data or a relic analyzer. Maybe bring both just in case, but I'm sure someone's going to tell me down in the description or down in the comments which one it is. But I would say like probably the main appeal to this is not just the skins. I mean, the skins look really cool, so the daily login ones look really cool. But I think the main appeal is that the 50% implant drop from player capsules is pretty cool. So and low sec, null sec, or people that are trying to suspect bait, all that kind of stuff. If a capsuleer dies, there's a 50% chance they could drop their implants, which I would assume most people are probably just going to be running naked pods, but occasionally people that do like to PvP, at least over the next 2 weeks, there's always a chance that they could drop their implants and give them to someone else. And that's pretty much it. All the Abyss stuff and everything else, and any of the kind of promotions I'm not going to cover here in this video. You guys can check it out down in the description where I will link the article, and we'll go ahead and look at the video. All right, now finally on to the event stuff. And so the first question is, how do you get these keys? Because it's kind of worthless running the combat sites otherwise, because the last room has where all the awesome loot is. And as you can actually see here, I've actually been switching between my D-scan range of 14 and 10, and I noticed that when I switch between those two, the capsule actually disappears. So I believe it's a white capsule. It's kind of hard to see. And the only thing that changes on the celestial side is this gate here. And so I actually start descanning it as I'm far away. So obviously it's not within 10, so it's none of the stuff that's within 10. So when I actually head over to the gate, I end up finding it. So that's one of the techniques I do, is I switch between 14, 10, 5, and then I notice whatever kind of celestials, whatever it be, a belt or a planet, whatever it may be, when that's gone, that's where I warp to. This is what the key looks like when you loot it, and as you can see here, these are very contested in highsec. By the time I scanned that down and went to it, there's already 2 other ships right on my tail, ready to take it away from me. And so what happens when you get into this scenario? When you're into like a whole group of planets, this is one technique you can use. You lower the range down to 1, you put the angle to 5, you start individually scanning down each planet. And I think this technique is very good if you only have about 6 or 7 celestials around you to scan down. So this will actually save a bit of time. But as you can see, as I'm scrolling down, there's about like 14 or 15 of them. So this is taking a while. And I realized that at this point, that's where I start saying, look, this is taking a while. You can actually zoom in pretty far, and you would treat this no differently than if you warped into a system and all those individual celestials were around you. So eventually I start individually descanning around. I noticed that it has to be at this station, because as I'm descanning it, I can find it right there. It's either between the moon or the station. And so as you can see, as I'm warping over to the station, I'm still descanning. There's going to be a guy that's going to be right on my tail when this happens. So I get there, I notice that it's not within, I think they're usually within like 20, 30 kilometers, usually when they're there, and I see this one's over 4,000 away. What I probably should have done was just click on the planet right next to me and just warp to it, or I should say the moon. But instead, I just go back to my D-scan, click on warp to the moon. I also technically could have warped to the wreck there, but it's not on my overview with the way I have it set up. You go ahead and shoot that down, and of course you get the key. And as far as I know, each and every capsule has a key guaranteed. And like I said before, the very last room is, you need a key to get into the last room, so there's kind of no point. This is the same thing here. I just wanted to show this because I had a slightly different technique. I pretty much got lucky there. I don't know why I didn't realize it was in that belt right there. Maybe I just overlooked it or something. And so I'm scanning around, and I realized, I'm like, where the heck is this thing? And so what I'd like to do is kind of called like slicing the pie, which is you kind of make a 180-degree thing, and then you keep narrowing it down. So right now it's kind of at 180. And then we got lucky that it's straight ahead. But what you would do is you would just narrow down. It's like, okay, there's 5 or 6 celestials around here. You narrow it down. Okay, now it's down to these 2 or 3. Now it's down to 1. Now it's just between this belt and this planet. You know, I'll go ahead and head over to the belt. So these are all techniques that I use for descanning in order to find these pretty quickly. I'm sure there's people that are more experienced than I am. I'm no professional by any means, but I've had some pretty good success finding these pretty quickly and end up taking them down. I showed this one because I'm honestly not sure if it's who deals the most damage, or if you're the last one, or if you land like the killing blow in the capsule, whatever it is. At least in my opinion, I felt like I dealt the most damage to the capsule, but I could be wrong. But in this case, I actually ended up losing this this capsule, so he actually ends up having rights to it because we're in highsec. But I don't really care. I was kind of upset. It took me a while to scan down this site, or like this capsule, so I just ended up stealing it and just warping off. Because, I don't know, I just felt like it, and that's definitely a thing you can do. All right, and this next part is the high-sec version of the combat site. I was heading through low-sec. I was trying to find one of those harder versions, like the Caldari versions that are in like Caldari low-sec, but I just couldn't find any. I went through about 5 or 6 low-sec systems, and I didn't want to keep doing it. I wanted to make this video as soon as I could for you guys. Initially, this room is pretty painful. Like, I'm flying a Hawk right now. I have most of my skills maxed out. I'm actually using an Ancillary medium shield booster. I'll go ahead and put the link down in the description below. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this fit. I'm not sure if this can do it because luckily I had a buddy with me doing the stuff with me, so it was pretty easy. If you are afraid that you will lose your ship or something like that, I mean, you can bring a buddy if you want, but be sure to tank out your ship. Be sure to have high thermal, high kinetic resist, as well as a way to heal yourself. So I did have the Ancillary, which I don't think was needed. I probably could have gotten away with just a normal medium shield booster. And as you can see, for some reason that Bantam did not want to fight. He was on the other side of the room, and you'll see that there's a second acceleration gate right there, but it's not active. Like, you can't interact with it at all, and that's because you have to actually clear the room first of all the bad guys. So that is the first wave. As far as I know, the high-sec one, or at least like I should just say the easier version of this thing, is there's 3 waves of bad guys. I am not sure what the harder version is like. Like I said, I haven't done it. So, I mean, that could have multiple waves. It could have bigger ships. I'm not sure. But in this instance, I am running a Nosferatu because you do get neuted, and it is nice to have a little bit of cap regen versus these guys, because sometimes you can face between like 2 to 3 newts at the same time. And because you're flying a pretty small ship, you can get neuted out pretty quickly if you're not careful. Right here, we both start focusing the Caracol because that's probably doing the most damage. We finished killing off what looks like the Stork as well as some of the other stuff. And the third wave should spawn pretty soon. And as far as I know, even if you are with a friend, in order to even take the acceleration gate, both of you have to do it. Both of you actually have to have a key. So it's not like if you're in a fleet, one person has a key and the other, 2, 3 people can just follow you in for free. I believe you have to have a key no matter what in order to get through that last gate. But there's only one ship at the last gate. So it's up to you whether you want everyone to use their keys to get through. But as you can see here, we start taking a bit of heat here. And I mean, my ship actually has really high thermal resistance. It has about, I believe it's 80% thermal and 70% kinetic. I haven't activated my assault damage control module yet, so I haven't really necessarily needed it. But these rooms get pretty hairy, and this is a high-sec version as well. So this is technically the easier version. So I do suggest you guys run a pretty tanky ship, maybe fit it a bit more for newts and tank rather than damage, but it's really up to you. at the end of the day. And of course, running it with a partner is very easy. So that's the end of the second wave. So another guy comes in here. I'm not sure if he's trying to steal our loot or our Rex or something like that. Maybe he didn't descan this area, realizing that there was already other people in here. So the third group warps in. He gets targeted a little bit and he just warps off. So we ended up actually cleaning up this last room, which is just more frigates. I do suggest you probably do kill the destroyers and like the Merlin looking ships first before you start killing like the Kestrels and stuff. Because I assume those are the ones that want to get on top of you and deal the most damage. So the order of operations of how we're focusing the ships probably isn't the best, but because we are running 2 ships, or we are like doing sight, so it's pretty easy for the most part. So in a moment here, we will be going through the gate, and I was really curious to see how my tank would hold up, but he ended up following up with me. I think we decided to both just go through because that other guy was showing up, and we just wanted to secure the loot. And as we're taking this acceleration gate, this guy did prove to be pretty, he did hurt quite a bit. Even though I wasn't a T2 Hawk, my resistances are really high for the type of damage he's dealing. So in all honesty, if you really want to play this safe, I would suggest you run a destroyer, or at least like a T2 destroyer or something like that. If you have really high skills, you could probably get away with running these sites with the T2 frigate. But ideally, you run it with a friend, so it's that much easier. So that's pretty much it, guys. If you guys have any questions or comments about the site, put them down in the comments below. Hope you take